Hello everyone, my name is Terra, and our project is applying the 7 habits of highly effective people to internet governance. The first question we would like to tackle in this report is whether or not a value system such as what Stephen Covey has identified in the 7 habits of highly effective people could be applied to a group whose duty is to govern the internet. Our second question is, does the multi-stakeholder approach reflect a closer modeling of Stephen Covey's 7 habits? The reason why this topic was selected is because its underlying factors can and will change the internet as we know it. This report has educated us on the matters at hand, and the development of this report is one way we can share our findings. I covered the first 3 habits of Stephen Covey's book, and the first habit is to be proactive. Stephen Covey basically describes being proactive as taking responsibility of your life. He actually says that a proactive person needs to be response-able. He talks about reactive people blame their attitudes on external sources. He gives the example that if the weather's good, a reactive person will feel good and have a good attitude. And if the weather's bad, that reactive person has a bad attitude and blames their attitude on the weather because the weather's bad. So he's saying that a proactive leader needs to not be reacted by external sources. An example that I gave in our paper was that President Obama can't decide to drop an atomic bomb in Afghanistan because his daughter spilled a bowl of cereal on his floor that morning. That would be a reactive person. That was a really dramatic example, but that was my example of a reactive person. Oxford Dictionaries, and I really like this definition, says that being proactive is creating or controlling a situation by causing something to happen rather than responding to it after it has happened. That's a really good definition to me of being proactive, because it's saying that you cause something to happen instead of something caused you to do something. People use the internet freely, and that's basically what our topic is about, is people are able to use the internet freely. They can do whatever they want on the internet. They can go anywhere, do anything, and basically there's no restrictions there. And right now, the UN is they're saying it's unfair that the United States is in so much control of the internet, and even though the United States themselves don't govern the internet, we have control over lots of things that go on the internet. We have basically unlimited access to the internet. And Forbes magazine quoted that the internet should have a hands-off policy, and many politicians promised originally to keep their hands off the net, but today it's more like people have their hands all over the net trying to change things that are going on. So a proactive side of this, for multi-stakeholders, they're all people trying to come together to come up with ways that this can be fair, the internet can be fair, but still unlimited, and still have our freedom on the internet, while we're afraid the UN might do things like put a block so that you can't go into certain websites unless you're paying extra. My point of view is that the multi-stakeholder is the better choice to me, because they're being proactive in ways that they're trying to help out everyone, and they're not just focusing on one certain set of people. Covey's second habit is begin with an end in mind. Covey states that the second habit is based on imagination and the ability to envision in your mind what you can't at the present see with your eyes. If you didn't get that, that's basically saying use your imagination. Imagine what you want the result to be. I know that it's not there at the present, but this is how I want things to turn out. This is how I want to see this end up being, how I want the internet to actually end up. And I said in my paper that when I do have kids and when I have a family, I want everyone to be able to enjoy the internet like I've been able to enjoy the internet. And I don't want my children to have to pay extra to get more out of the internet, because we don't have to do that right now. So begin with an end in mind is basically seeing the picture at the end of the road, focusing on that, and really just capturing it. Multi-stakeholders are seeing, they want the internet to be the same. Well, I think they're sort of reluctant to have a formal institution to govern the internet, but then you have the other people, the UN, saying they don't want a non-governmental arrangement. They want someone to control the internet. They want to be in control of the internet, and they really just don't want the United States with so much control over the internet. Covey says in his book that we may be very busy, we may be very efficient, but we will also be truly effective only when we begin with an end in mind. So I think the best step you have to, as the UN or as the multi-stakeholders, really define and let people know what they want their ending image of the internet to be, so that people can jump on which side they want to go with. The third habit that is in Covey's book is to put first things first. Covey says that this habit is about life management, and it's about knowing your purpose, your values, your roles, and your priorities, and knowing which is the most important, which is the most worth something to you, and you have to put what comes first. It really brings habit 1 and 2 together. Being proactive, you have to really not be affected by certain things that happen. If something goes wrong, you need to pick yourself up. You need to be able to keep moving along and really make things happen and be effective. The second habit was begin with an end in mind. And that's a proactive person doesn't let things affect them. They get their picture in their mind, how they want to do it. They set their mind on that, and then you put first things first. You really have to focus on what's most important. I think for the multi-stakeholders, the most important thing in my eyes is not letting one single firm govern the internet, which is, I think, why my partner, Curtis, and I chose to go the multi-stakeholder route, because it really just doesn't let one person or firm govern the internet, which is important to me, because I feel like if the UN as one just govern the internet, we have the chance of being cut off from so many things on the internet, and that basically, if you wanted to blog about something but they didn't like what you were blogging about, they could block that and they could let you not do that. So that basically wraps up my part of what I covered in our project, and that's it. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Curtis Martin. I'll be addressing habits 4 through 7 of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People from a perspective relating to internet governance. So Stephen Covey's 4th habit talks about a think win-win approach. In it, he identifies fundamental aspects of integrity and abundance mentality, which are some of the key principles of interpersonal leadership. Now, what is integrity? Well, Merriam-Webster identifies it as a firm adherence to a code, especially moral or artistic values, and the quality or state of being complete or undivided. What does this have to do with the internet? Well, in the field of information technology, you'll also find data integrity. It reflects the validity of information in a database system. The group Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, also known as ICANN, they've established standards to help minimize data integrity threats on the internet. As for the abundance mentality aspect of the win-win approach, Covey said that public victories does not mean victory over other people. Instead, it means success and effective interaction that brings mutually beneficial results to everyone involved, which is what the multi-stakeholder approach takes. Moving on to habit 5, we seek first to understand, then to be understood. In this section, Covey focuses on empathetic communication. This doesn't mean you feel sorry for someone. Instead, you're an empathetic listener. This involves listening to understand, which is going to be a critical role for any group that is going to govern the internet. The multi-stakeholder approach has a better seat to do this since it involves everyone, not just state representatives. Habit 6 speaks of synergy. Now, simply defined, synergy means that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. These are Stephen Covey's words. He also says that it means that the relationship which the parts have to each other is a part in and of itself. This describes the internet. It's a worldwide phenomena that's made up of shared information. Together, this information forms what we call the World Wide Web. Multi-stakeholder leadership, it identifies with this, and that it too sets out to involve everyone. Understanding that it takes everyone, participants, not just from the government, but also from the tech sector, the commercial sector, and the end users. They all need to come together and collaborate. The internet is unto itself a community. Habit 7 is about sharpening the saw, or preserving and enhancing the greatest asset that you have, you. It touches on preserving the 4 dimensions of our nature: the physical, the spiritual, the mental, and the social/emotional. Now, these dimensions of our character and how we function within them, it's what makes us unique. That's why the multi-stakeholder model is a much better approach, because it relates to those individuals that may focus on different aspects of those dimensions more than others. Now, none of us have perfected the nature of these dimensions, but we can learn from others who've experienced momentary successes within them. They are us. The multi-stakeholder approach is a movement towards preserving our individual voices and our ability to share knowledge freely, which in turn is an act of enhancing ourselves. So to wrap things up here, the internet is a tree with many branches, which as a whole reflects the human race. Through it, we've documented our achievements and losses. We've shared our fears and strengths, our passions and fears. We've shared our knowledge and experiences. And through it, we learn from one another. This freedom to openly access and share information has continued to help us evolve. There are groups that would like to control and filter this sharing of information. Other groups would like to put a price tag on it. In either case, the potential for continued personal development and the evolution of our global society by way of knowledge gained via the internet would be slowed down, if not halted altogether. So the internet has affected the world as a whole, but it can only remain effective if those who govern it are as highly effective as Covey's 7 habits.